I moved to Ember Street thinking it would be quiet. A small town, sleepy, the kind of place where neighbors knew each other by first name, and the most excitement came from the occasional block party. I had just escaped a chaotic life in the city, desperate for peace and anonymity. The first night in my new apartment was uneventful. I unpacked, set up my modest furniture, and sat on the couch staring at the muted glow of the streetlights outside. Ember Street was empty. Perfectly empty. Too empty. I should have known
Come
something was
closer.
off the moment I saw
We're
it.
waiting.
I was hanging laundry by the window when I noticed a figure standing across the street. At first, I thought it was my imagination. A man, tall and thin, dressed entirely in black, standing still like a statue beneath the flickering lamplight. I blinked. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. Just stared. I called out, jokingly, hoping to make a move. "Hey, can I help you?" Nothing. I laughed nervously and went inside, locking the window. But when I looked again, he hadn't moved. Not an inch. His face was obscured by shadow, yet I felt it staring into my soul. That night, I barely slept. Every time I peered out the window, he was there, in the same spot, waiting. I started noticing details. He never blinked, never shifted weight, and the streetlight above him flickered in perfect rhythm with his presence. I began to question my sanity. Maybe the stress of the move, the exhaustion from the city, had made me hallucinate. But over the next few nights, the figure grew bolder. He stepped onto the sidewalk. Not quickly, not with normal strides. He glided, slow and deliberate. I tried to tell myself it was a trick of the light, that shadows can be deceptive. But deep down, I knew better. One night, I decided to confront him. I grabbed my coat, my keys, and stepped outside. My apartment door closed behind me, the lock clicking with a sense of finality. "Who are you?" I shouted, voice cracking. He didn't answer. I approached cautiously, the asphalt cold under my shoes. The closer I got, the taller he seemed. His form elongated unnaturally, stretching beyond the limits of a normal human. I stopped, heart hammering. Then he moved, not towards me, but beside me. In an instant, I felt his presence to my right, though I hadn't noticed him stepping. The hair on my arm stood on end. I looked around. Empty street. Nothing. I don't know what you want," I stammered. A whisper carried through my mind. Not audible, not external, internal, deep in my thoughts. "You're mine." I froze. My blood ran cold. The figure stayed silent, yet I could feel him. Watching, waiting, learning. I ran back inside, locking the door behind me. But the sense of being watched didn't leave. Every shadow in the apartment seemed to stretch toward me. Every creak in the floorboards, every flicker of the lights felt deliberate. He was here somehow. I tried to sleep, but the whispers returned. Faint at first, almost like the wind brushing past my ears. "You can't hide." I bolted upright. My room was empty. The window was closed. No one was there. The next few days were a blur. I avoided the street entirely. I called neighbors, asked about anyone who might be lurking. No one had seen anyone. No one had noticed anything unusual. And yet I knew he was still there, watching, patient. Then the dreams began. Every night, the same dream. I walked down Ember Street, dimly lit. The houses stretched impossibly long. Shadows twist and move like smoke. He is always there, just at the edge of the streetlight's glow, faceless yet unmistakably human. He whispers my name, soft and inviting. I run, but the street never ends. Trees elongate, fences warp, and I'm trapped in an endless loop, chased by the silent man who knows no fatigue, no hesitation, no mercy. I started losing touch with reality. I would catch glimpses of him at random moments. A shadow in my peripheral vision, too tall, too thin. The feeling of being followed, even in broad daylight. My apartment didn't feel safe anymore. One evening, desperate, I tried to leave. I packed my essentials, intending to escape town. I stepped outside. Ember Street looked normal, calm, safe. But he was there, directly across the street, watching. I ran, down the street, faster than I've ever run in my life. My lungs burned, legs screamed, yet the distance between us never grew. It was impossible. He never moved, yet he was always closer. I tripped, fell. My hand scraped raw against the asphalt. When I looked up, he was towering over me, impossibly tall, his shadow swallowing the streetlights. He leaned down, just enough for me to feel his presence pressing against my chest, though I could see no face. I blacked out. I woke hours later in my apartment. No scratches, no marks, only the faint whisper lingering in the air. You belong to Ember Street now. I tried leaving again several times. Each time, he was waiting, not chasing, just waiting, watching. My friends suggested I had gone insane. They didn't see him. They couldn't see him. Weeks turned into months. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating properly. I avoided going outside entirely. My apartment became my cage, and he became the shadow in the corner, the presence that never left. And then I saw it, not through my eyes, not through the window, but in reflections, mirrors, polished surfaces, even in the darkened screen of my turned-off laptop. He was everywhere, a constant, silent observer, faceless, elongated, unmoving. I realized something horrifying. He doesn't need to move to follow me. He only needs to exist, to watch, and the street bends to him. My life, my reality, has become an extension of Ember Street itself. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. I can hear him waiting outside my door as I type. His presence presses against the walls. Every reflection shows him. Every shadow moves unnaturally. I don't know if leaving will save me. I don't know if moving towns, changing names, fleeing the state, any of it will help. He has already learned my habits, my fears, my routine. Ember Street doesn't let go. And I know, one day I'll be walking down that street again, powerless to escape. And the silent man will be there. Always. Watching. Waiting. Patient. I shouldn't have taken that shortcut. It was late, past midnight, and I was walking home from a friend's house. The streets of my neighborhood were quiet, almost unnervingly so. Normally, I would have walked the main roads, but I decided to cut through a small side street I had never taken before. It wasn't on my usual route, and even the street light was dim, flickering intermittently. I thought it would shave off a few minutes. I was wrong. That's when I saw it. A house. It wasn't abandoned, not exactly, but it looked old, neglected. The paint was peeling, windows clouded with grime, and the front door sagged on its hinges. I would have walked past it, but something about it caught my attention. A faint glow emanated from inside, though no lights were on. The air around it was cold, unnaturally so. I shivered, thinking I should keep walking. But then I heard it. Alex. My heart froze. I spun around. The street was empty. The glow came from the house. I stepped closer, cautiously. My rational mind told me someone inside needed help, or maybe a lamp had been left on. But as I approached, the front door slowly creaked open on its own. I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but my feet moved forward, drawn in by something I couldn't explain. The air inside smelled of dust, mold, and something metallic. Faint scuff marks lined the floorboards, as though someone had been dragging something heavy. The house was silent except for the faint whisper of my name, over and over. Alex, Alex, Alex. I tried to tell myself it was the wind, but the voice was too deliberate, too precise. I walked down the hallway. The wallpaper was faded, peeling in places, revealing old stains. The furniture was covered in sheets that had yellowed with age, and everywhere I looked, there were markings, carvings on the walls, names, dates, some of them decades old. But then I saw it. My name, freshly carved into the wall, letters jagged, uneven, almost bleeding. My pulse spiked. I turned to leave, but the door I had entered through was gone, replaced by a solid wall. Panic set in. I ran from room to room, searching for another exit, but the layout of the house had changed. Hallways twisted impossibly. Rooms repeated themselves. Doors opened into the same spaces. It was like the house was alive, aware of my presence, reshaping itself around me. And then I heard them. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, following me. I would run, and the footsteps would mirror mine, always just behind. I couldn't see anyone, but I felt them. A presence, patient, intelligent, waiting for me to make a mistake. I ran into a room filled with mirrors. Floor-to-ceiling mirrors lined the walls, reflecting my terrified face 100 times. And then I noticed my reflection wasn't alone. Shadowy figures loomed behind me in every reflection, tall, thin, faceless. They didn't move in the room itself, only in the mirrors. I screamed and covered my face. When I looked again, they were gone. But the whispering remained. Alex Day forever. I fled down a long hallway. The walls pulsed as if breathing. Pictures hung crookedly, their subjects' eyes following me. One painting in particular caught my attention. A family portrait, decades old, but the children's faces were scratched out, except for one figure that looked familiar. Me, in the painting. But I had never been there before. I realized the house didn't just know my name. It knew me. The whispering grew louder. Now it wasn't just my name, it was memories. My childhood, moments only I could know. Secrets I had never told anyone. The house spoke them aloud, twisting them into a chant. You are mine, you belong. I ran, bursting into what appeared to be a living room. A single armchair faced the fireplace. In it, a shadowed figure sat. Its face was featureless, smooth, yet somehow familiar. I froze. The voice was coming from it now. You shouldn't have come, it said, deep, resonant, inside my mind. I tried to scream, to run, to fight, but the floor gave way beneath me. I fell into darkness. I landed in the basement. Cold, damp, filled with shadows that moved independently of any light source. Shapes crawled along the walls, whispering my name in voices of children, adults, friends, strangers. Every voice I had ever known, distorted and warped. I ran through the basement, the walls closing in, the ceilings stretching impossibly high. And then I saw it, a door. Light shone from beneath the crack. I ran toward it, threw it open, and I was outside. The house was gone. The street was normal. Nothing looked wrong. Ember-colored streetlights, quiet asphalt, the faint rustle of wind. I was breathing heavily, heart pounding, legs shaking. I convinced myself it had been a hallucination, a dream. I had been stressed, exhausted, but then I saw it. The mailbox in front of the lot had a small note, my name, written in jagged letters, and inside a photograph. Me, sitting in the living room of the house. Taken tonight. I haven't gone back. I don't know where the house is or how it found me. I've moved cities, changed routines, avoided every dark street and abandoned building. But sometimes at night, I wake to the sound of my name whispered through the room. And I know, deep down, it's only a matter of time before the house finds me again. The next time I walk down a quiet street, I won't take shortcuts. I'll stick to the light, stay in view. But the thought that the house knows my name, that it remembers me, follows me everywhere. And I know, when it calls, I won't be able to resist. Because some houses aren't just buildings. Some are hungry, some remember, and some wait for you. Some places shouldn't be visited at night. I thought it was just a dare, a thrill, but that night, I learned some stories aren't meant to be survived. I never should have been there that night. Hollow Creek Park had been abandoned for years, left to rot after the accident that killed 3 children on the swings. Everyone in town whispered about the park being cursed, haunted, but curiosity, combined with the bravado of youth, pushed me through the rusty gates long after the sun had set. The air was thick, damp, and smelled faintly of decay. The playground, once bright and cheerful, now looked twisted and unnatural. Rust covered the slides and swings, paint peeled like old skin, and the faint sound of running water from the creek seemed heavier somehow, more deliberate. I remember stepping carefully on the cracked asphalt, my flashlight cutting through the darkness in narrow beams. Shadows clung to the trees and swings, stretching longer than they should, moving slightly even when the wind was calm. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I told myself it was nerves, the product of being alone in an eerie place. But then I heard it, a soft creak. The swing farthest from me moved slowly, a thin rope stretching and groaning under a weight that shouldn't exist. I froze. My heart thumped so loudly I was certain it would echo through the park. Another creak. Then the swing jerked violently forward. I couldn't see anyone. No one was there. I try to rationalize it. Maybe an animal, maybe a gust of wind. But the night was dead still. No leaves moved. No birds called. Just the swing, swaying with intent, almost beckoning me closer. Curiosity overpowered fear. I walked slowly toward it. Each step seemed to make the shadows pulse, the trees bending toward me ever so slightly. When I reached the swing, I saw the seat was wet. Freshly wet. My stomach churned. I touched it. Cold. Ice cold. And then I heard the whisper. Soft, almost shy at first. A childlike voice carrying across the empty playground. Push me. I jumped back, my flashlight shaking. Who's there? I demanded, voice quivering. No answer. Only the swing moving slightly again. Then another whisper. Please push me. Something about it was wrong. The voice wasn't just soft. It carried weight. Hunger. Sadness. A longing that made the hair on my arms stand up. I ran. The asphalt seemed endless, the swings and slides twisting into impossible angles, elongating the distance between me and the park's exit. I didn't stop running until the chain-link fence was behind me, the rusted gates clanging shut on their own. That night, I swore I would never return. But the whispers followed me, faint in my dreams, calling my name. Push me, push me. Weeks later, I heard news on the radio. Another child had vanished, this time near Hollow Creek, near the swings. I never told anyone about what I saw. Who would believe me? But I know the swings are still there, moving, waiting, whispering. And I know, deep down, that it's only a matter of time before they call my name again.